Hello friends. So this morning I'm going to be working on my snowplow. Last weekend I got the plow put on the Jeep. I had ordered a front receiver hitch, the plow that I had bought last year that I had on my Tundra. The front receiver hitch stayed with that truck, so I didn't have one for the Jeep. So I did have to buy a new front receiver hitch specifically for this Jeep. When I was looking on Amazon and getting one, there was two different models that I found through Kurt, and I like that brand. One was if you had a factory bumper, one was if you have an aftermarket bumper, which I do. So I'd gone over to my father-in-law's. We got that put on. It bolted right up. It was a great fit. I did have to remove a skid plate. So I'll see maybe next summer if I've got to modify that to put it back on. But for the winter, right now, I'm not worried about it. But I'll give you a view of that. But what I'm working on today, so I've used the plow twice in my driveway, and it's all bolted on. Well, it was enough force that it moved the bolts a little bit and pivoted the receiver hitch. So when I lift up the blade, I've only got like 4 inches off the ground, and I had to drive it to work the other day that way, and I bumped the road a couple times, which a little scary. So this morning, working on loosening the bolts, gonna try and get it pivoted back up. And I'll probably tack weld a couple places, maybe even add a couple gussets. But anyway, give you a little view of that. So as you can tell, it's snowing right now. When I plowed I guess it was 2 nights ago, we had about 6 inches and got everything plowed up. Well, now this morning I've got about another 6 inches. It's dumping pretty good. So see, the Jeep's got quite the blanket. Try and show you a little bit here, but I don't know if you can see it. The bracket is pivoted forward right now on my receiver hitch. So I'm going to be loosening up the bolts. There's 2 on each side and then 2 underneath, which I thought was going to keep it from pivoting, but it did. So you can see it slants down at a pretty good angle. I don't know how well you can tell, but so instead of being straight out with the Jeep, it's now pointing down towards the road. So I've got to get that adjusted. So I've got my floor jack ready to lift and try and pivot. The snowplow that I am using on my Jeep is a DK, and I believe it's 211. Comes in a box, all in like 3 or 4 foot pieces. Bolt everything together. Get everything wired up. I have the little winch motor covered just in some leather, just so that freezing rain or anything like that doesn't mess it up. This one uses like a seat belt strap for the lifting instead of a cable. I've had one in the past that used a cable, and every winter the cable would bind up, pinch, and then eventually snap. With this like seatbelt strap, it's working really well. It is a manual adjust for left and right, which isn't a real big deal, but it does lift and go down with the remote control that you have in the cab. And then all the wiring, everything of course is up in the engine compartment and receives the signal and then operates the plow. So I'll go ahead and get a little bit more prepped, probably put on some coveralls for crawling around a little bit, and see if I can get this thing straightened up. Alright, so I've got the blade jacked up. I've got the receiver hitch repositioned. All my bolts are just a little loose right now, and jacking it up, repivoted the receiver hitch. So I'm gonna get it tightened back down, and I think I'm gonna run a bead, a weld up through here. Just try and get it so it doesn't slide around again. That means it would be hard to take this receiver hitch off if I ever wanted to, but I'll try and leave the welds to where if I really wanted to, I could grind them and take this back off, but I don't plan on it. I think the Jeep will still be functional year-round with the receiver hitch on the front. And like I said, I'll probably put the skid plate back on. I'm just gonna probably have to do a little cutting and modifying to make it fit, just because of the receiver hitch. I've got a little 10x10 pop-up tent put up over everything. I was hoping it was gonna stop snowing, but it's not. So I've got the negative on the battery, everything disconnected, just so when I'm welding, I don't, cause a fuse to blow, or in a really bad scenario, one of the computers in the Jeep. So don't want that to happen. So got my portable welder out here. I'm gonna go ahead and do a little grinding, expose some bare metal for some welds. So get that ready. Alright guys, so I ended up using my regular angle grinding blade. Then I also had to use a cutoff saw blade just to get close to the corners so that it's clean and I can get a good contact with my welder. So now I'm gonna see if we can get a decent weld on here and get this thing locked into place. Just got to get my wire to want to feed through this hose. I can't have it too kinked up. All right, get that cleaned up a little bit and check my weld. Now the weld I'm not looking forward to, I'm gonna get underneath there. There's 2 brackets that come off the bottom of the receiver hitch bar and bolt to a cross member. Well, those had slid also, so I'm going to tack those just so it helps give it the support to not want to slide back when it's pushing snow. So now I gotta try and get underneath everything and get back in there. Okay, that's a bit warm. Alright, we'll try that. Alright, so I'm also adding some bracing to the front, to the bumper. Just try and give it as much support as I can. Okay, so I've got some added 5/8 metal stock there to the front, so it'll go from the hitch to the bumper, and I'm hoping that will also help it from wanting to pull down under the Jeep. So let's give that a weld. Fighting my cord here to get the wire to travel down the inside of this. If I get the coil too tight, it doesn't like to push the wire out. Well guys, sometimes the struggle is real. I'm going to try from the other side. Just overheated, so I'm going to have to let this cool and reset. Alright guys, so besides all the other challenges I'm dealing with the snow and crawling around trying to get this to
fit right and use my welder, that the wire doesn't always want to go down through the tube. So it wasn't that I popped a breaker, we lost power. So all this deep snow caused the power to go out. So I dragged over my generator, hoping I can get this project done, because I still need to plow. And then I got to move the generator to run the pellet stove for the house so that we have heat. So let's give this a try. Okay, so I've got the generator running. Welder's plugged back in. Let's see what we can do. So I'm going to clean that up a little bit, double check my welds, and we'll get back to it. Alright guys, so I've got both sides welded up. I added some material to the front. It's a bit ugly, but for the middle of a snowstorm and snow's building up on me, I think I gotta call it good. So I'm gonna throw some black paint on there. Probably won't do much good, but just to try to keep things from rusting out till hopefully spring, and get things touched up a little better, grind them down, just clean things up. But right now I got to get to plowing, and I got to get the generator over and get the house warming up. Alright, so thanks for watching, and remember to subscribe, hit that like button, and we'll see you guys soon. Thank you.